Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Janine Luby, aka Funny Wine Girl. Let me take a breath here. I was never a voiceover actor. I'm sorry. Anyway, this week I had to do that. I had to take a breath because I will be talking a lot this week. I know, bear with me. I am my guest this week. Well, welcome, Janine. It's a pleasure to have you. Oh, gosh, I've been waiting so long to be invited to this fabulous, just fantastic award-winning show. Yeah, okay. If you haven't tuned out yet, because I'm a little bit on the kooky side, keep listening. This week, it wasn't a matter of not having anyone to ask to be a guest. I have plenty of fantastic guests lined up, but I actually wanted to tell you about my recent trip to the Finger Lakes. So that is why I designated this Thursday, even though it's been a few weeks. I wanted to do this. It was actually kind of good because it coincided with the date that I release my podcast every Thursday. And it is, let's see, this Thursday is February 24th. And I want to tell you about my recent trip to the Finger Lakes, which was somewhat of a early birthday celebration for my friend Cristan, who turns the big 50 in a couple days on February 28th. So I thought the timing was right. And I figured, you know what? I've got this podcast, Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. And while I never intended for it to be all about wine, I initially thought I'd incorporate a little more wine. And I probably haven't done that a lot. So I figured let's dedicate a whole episode to wine. Imagine that. But in all seriousness, I like what has been happening with the content of my podcast because when I did start this Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl, I always knew that I wanted it to be about sharing information, entertainment, and inspiration, and primarily focusing on women. So I've had mostly women guests, and the idea of uncorking to open up, to share, to let feelings pour out, to let ideas pour out, to inspire, to just share, fill it, just like wine fills the glass and it fills our soul, our spirit, our stomach, I mean, not to be gross. It's like it fills our stomach. That doesn't sound so poetic, but it gives us something joyful, pleasure. And that's what I feel my guests do every week. And I mean, honestly, I'm not saying it to toot my own horn, but I just think there are so many wonderful people out there and so many wonderful women that I've been fortunate enough to know or be introduced to and get to know that it has been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure, and it will continue to be my pleasure to bring them to you every week. And from time to time, I will do some talking myself. And, a lot of times I say, oh, sorry, but I'm not going to apologize because I think I have some things to say that are decent, some entertaining things to say, some informative things to say as well. And as I said this week, I thought the timing was great to celebrate my friend Cristan, who is turning 50. Did I say she was turning 50? She's going to love this. Well, hey, guess what? She doesn't listen to my podcast. I love her anyway. She only listens to murder podcasts, true crime. So this week, I'm going to tell you about the murder of grapes to make wine. Now, maybe she'll listen. No, she won't listen, but that's okay. But anyway, I do want to talk about a recent trip to the Finger Lakes. And for those of you who listen to the podcast, I will encourage you to check out my YouTube channel, Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl, because I'm going to be showing you some of the bottles of wine that I brought home. And one in particular from Miles Wine Cellars, Ghost. It's kind of cool because when you shine light through the back of the bottle, you get to see a really cool ghost. So check it out. And if you're watching on YouTube and you're not listening to the podcast, well, then good for you because you're seeing everything and hearing everything. So let's get started. It is what did I say? It's February 24th. And I want to say February 4th or 5th. It was a stormy Friday, but in all seriousness, we had planned on going a Friday, that first Friday in February. I'm drawing a blank on whether it was the 3rd or the 4th or whatever it was. It was that Friday, and we were going Friday to Sunday. But Friday was predicted to be a pretty crappy weather day. And, when you book on Airbnb, as with most places, when you book, you can't just cancel and get your money back, or much of your money back. So we were discussing it, my friend Cristan and Gingy, I call her Gingy, her name is Cindy. And the three of us were going for the weekend, and it was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And Cristan was driving, and I'm like an old lady now. So I don't drive distances. So I laugh, but it's not really funny because it kind of sucks. I used to drive by myself all over the place years, not that long ago. I drove to Albany to see my friend. That was a 3-hour ride. I drove to DC, but now in the past, I'd say 5 to 7 years, maybe 7 years, I guess it started happening. I start getting, I don't know, something physiological first happened that scared me, that kind of made me a little dizzy. And it could be something physical and physiological, but you know how it is in the medical community. And that's not a slam. It's just usually they tell you what it isn't. And sometimes they tell you, oh, it's nothing. But whatever it was, it also kind of led to this anxiety when driving. So I don't really drive too far. Like I'll drive an hour and a half before I start. Sometimes I'll get, now it's almost probably self-imposed little mini panic attacks, just like a little sense of dizziness. I roll down the window, I grip the steering wheel. Sometimes maybe I pull over. But in any case, I certainly wasn't going to drive, and I did not blame my friend for not wanting to drive with the weather. But let's fast forward. The great part about this story is we were renting a Airbnb, an old schoolhouse. It's called the school. I think I forget the exact handle, but Old Schoolhouse FLX. And it is owned by a previous guest of mine only a few weeks ago. If you listen to Danielle Fleming, the owner of Notology, she's an entrepreneur who offers great services where you can go and you can make your own fragrance, and she sells fragrances and lip balms and candles and scent smelling like kits if you've lost your sense of smell. During COVID, she offers that. So Danielle was a guest on my podcast recently. She's really a smart entrepreneur. She was a great, interesting guest. So go back and listen to that. That was from about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But Danielle also owns this property up in Burdett, New York, in the Finger Lakes near Seneca Lake. And so the schoolhouse, it was an old schoolhouse that she and her husband, Mark, had bought and redone. And we were renting it. Now, let me just say, she also rents, I think she's got 4 cabins, micro cabins on her land there as well. And there's enough separation that if you do stay at the schoolhouse, the old schoolhouse, you will have privacy. It's not like you're right on top of the micro cabins or right on top. There's a good distance. So you do get privacy, and it's really cool. In any case, she owns this property. And of course I booked it through Airbnb. It wasn't like I was just like, yo, Danielle, can I stay at your place? Obviously I went through the proper channels, but thankfully, because I know Danielle, and I'm sure she probably would have done this. I believe she would have done this for anyone, but she understood the situation and where I was coming from right here in Scranton, driving to Burdett, which is supposed to be about a 2-hour, 20-minute drive around there. She reached out to me and said, would you like to make your reservation Saturday to Monday instead of Friday to Sunday, which was great because on Friday, we didn't end up getting much in Scranton, Pennsylvania. We got some sleet, kind of crappy, but not horrible. But Burdett, New York got 16 inches. Now, up in that region, the upstate New York, I'm sure they're used to it, but it was still messy, and we did not want to be driving in that. So thankfully, she was wonderful to offer us that option. And Cindy and Cristan were all agreeable. We were able to stay till Monday. It was great. So off we go on Saturday morning. We head up there. One thing I will caution you, if you're listening to this and you're planning on going to the Finger Lakes, I had never been to the Finger Lakes in the winter before. I had been on many a bus trip in the spring and the fall, and back in my, gosh, I don't know, maybe 30s. I don't know if I went in my 20s, but probably late 20s, early 30s. I used to go, and I would, of course, get slammed. I'd get plastered. I would drink anything they put in front of me, and even the wines I didn't like the really sweet dessert wines, and I would be just disgusting by the end and not so nice. I don't turn into a happy drunk. I can get obnoxious, mean, annoying, all that stuff. So Then I finally learned, I would say in my late 30s, that I would just say no to the wines that I didn't like. I'm not a fan of iced wine. I'm not a fan of really sweet wine. So I'm going to go ahead and skip those. So I got to behave better as the years went on. But anyway, I had been there in the summer, in the, actually, I don't know about the summer, but the spring, the fall on bus trips. I had been up personally in the summer through different things with my business, Laugh to Live. I was presenting at a wellness camp that was near Seneca Lake. It was in, I want to say Hammondsport, New York. And about 7 years ago, maybe I got to go up a few times and I visited the wineries then, and I stayed on the cabins at this camp. And I was taken up by my boyfriend years ago, and we stayed at a bed and breakfast around early September when my birthday is. So I had been there, but I used to actually say, I wonder what this place is like in the winter. Does it just shut down? Well, a lot of it does shut down. So that's the point of that kind of rambling a little bit. I would tell you, if you are going up anytime before prime season, it is a really good idea to call places to make sure they're open, and do not just trust what is on Google. I will tell you, as someone who does social media marketing for a handful of clients, it is not that difficult to update your Google business page. So for anyone listening who does have a Google business page, I will be happy to help you, but if not, find somebody who will, or just take a look yourself, because it's not that difficult to update your hours of operation, different things like that, because places that said they were opened were not opened. And I'm not just talking about for the day, because things happen, especially with a small, family owned business. But if you're closed for the winter and your page, your business page on Google still says that you're open, that's not a good thing. So anyway, I know that Danielle did say, due to the pandemic and in the winter, it's a good idea to call ahead and check things. But anyway, we're driving up there and I was the one who was in the back seat. So I'm checking places to eat. And we found this place, the Red Rooster something or another. And I probably should have gotten the name before I got on here, but it's not super important. It was not quite in Burdett, because of course, if you've been to the Finger Lakes in upstate New York, you know that you could sneeze and be projected into a different town. The towns are all different. You're in Burdett 1 minute, and then maybe 3 miles down the road, you're in Hector, New York. There's a lot of different names. I don't know if they're townships or cities. I am not into government, provinces, municipalities. That's not my expertise. Anyway, so I'm not quite sure the name of the town. Oh, it was actually, I'm sorry, I do know. It was Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen, where I had stayed actually before years ago at a really nice B&B. And there's a really nice state park in Watkins Glen. And I believe there's also a racetrack there, which I've never gone to. But the state park with the waterfalls and the trails is wonderful. And I had been there years ago for my birthday when my boyfriend took me to a bed and breakfast on the main street. That was years ago. I want to say 7 or 8 years ago. But anyway, so we're in Watkins Glen, and I had looked up this little restaurant. It was a brewery. Everything I read off their menu sounded wonderful. And their Facebook, I don't know if I found their Facebook page, but their website or their Google listing said they were open. And I forget if I looked on their Facebook page or if I could find anything. I'm not sure. But we went there on the main street in Watkins Glen. A lot of things were closed. Family diners and restaurants were open, but we get there to this Flying Rooster or whatever the heck it is, and there's a lot of snow that's been piled up on the side of where parking spots are, because they had a lot of snow. It was closed. So we keep driving forward, but we get a glimpse of the lake, Seneca Lake, and it was like a blue that was just cold as can be, but absolutely beautiful. Icy blue, gorgeous. And then I know that one great thing about a lot of people who do the Airbnb, and Danielle definitely, she had a lot of great information. If you looked, you could find, she had a top 10 list for her top 10 favorite places, of a variety of things, and just a map of all different restaurants. So I knew she had mentioned this, I think it was Grist Iron Brewery, and that was in Burdett, and it wasn't far from the schoolhouse, the place where we were staying. So we're like, okay, let's head over there. But I did try calling, and you don't get an answer, which was kind of frustrating. It was basically a voicemail that gave you their hours. So you would have to trust that they were saying they were open, but it was a recording. So we're like, all right, let's give it a shot. So we went over there, big place. We went in. I wasn't interested in having beer because I didn't want to mix, but they did serve wine. So I had a nice glass of Riesling that was from Glenora Falls. Is it Glenora Falls or Glenora? I'm forgetting for a second here. I think it's Glenora Winery. I don't think it's Glenora Falls. I think it's just Glenora Winery. So I had a nice glass of Riesling, had like a chicken cheesesteak. It was like, kind of like bar food, very casual place. People were there with babies, children. Of course, I know that's all the rage now. And I won't go off on that path. I don't want to anger anyone, but my personal opinion, I don't love the fact that kids are all over pretty much everywhere you look and in breweries and wineries. I know it's a different time. And I won't go into back in my day, I didn't belong in pool halls and beer places and, beer gardens. I'm not trying to sound like an old curmudgeon. It's just a matter of me wanting to not have babies crying by me. That's just anyway. And I think, don't parents want some time off? But I can't understand because I'm not a parent. So I only can understand how I feel and how I don't really think kids belong at these places. But anyway, I digress. They're there, and it's just wonderful that the family can be there together at a brewery. Why not? So the baby was actually very good. There was a couple dogs there, so dog friendly as well. Dogs and babies, that's all good stuff. And it's, it's okay if you're looking for, some food before you start drinking wine. It was fine. My friend had actually, what she had was fantastic. It was some kind of, she had meatballs, but it was like you could get it served with this sauce that was like a brown sauce, a mushroom sauce. That sauce I would have drank in a glass, a wine glass, a beer glass. I don't care what kind of glass, a bottle, a baby bottle. I could have grabbed off the baby behind me. It was delightful, very yummy. My chicken cheesesteak, it's a chicken cheesesteak. Okay. It was fine. Kristen's pork nachos, those will come into play later. Excuse me, they seemed fine. They seemed fine at the time. So, okay, we've got food, we're ready to go. And I'm not going to list everything because I don't want to bore you and I don't really want to talk so long myself. But I will say, do me a favor, get on my social media, Funny Wine Girl Janine at Facebook. Oh my God, that's at Facebook, my Facebook page, Funny Wine Girl Janine, and also on Instagram. I am going to post pretty much our whole weekend itinerary agenda because I don't want to miss anything. So if you are thinking of taking a trip up to Seneca, that area, at least I'll be able to give you some names of places and, just give you some of my tips. Again, do your own research, talk to people and find out, different things. Everyone's different. And I personally don't like sweet wine, so I wouldn't go somewhere where people were like, oh, they've got great peach wine. I'd be like, not a fan, but that's me. I like white wines. I like semi-sweet, semi-dry. And of course, the Finger Lakes region, a lot of Rieslings. There's a ton of Rieslings and they can vary so much. They can be sweet. They can be almost dry, semi. Rieslings are good. I don't know, that sounded super simplistic. They're good. Rieslings, what I meant to kind of say, I guess, is that I think they appeal to a lot of people because you've got some dry, you've got some sweet, and there's a ton of wineries that have a lot of, and sometimes in one winery, you'll have like a ton of different Rieslings. So I did end up buying a lot of Rieslings, and yet at home, I wouldn't necessarily, not that I don't like Riesling, it's just not my favorite wine. I like Sauvignon Blanc. I like Chenin Blanc. I like a Viognier. In fact, of course, we had to kind of goof on my pretentiousness. Like, I like wines that, where you have to almost sound like you're choking on your phlegm. Like, I like a Chenin Blanc. I like a Viognier. I like a Sauvignon Blanc. So a Chenin Blanc, a Grenier. I like a Gewürztraminer too, or what did Kristen call it? A Gewürztraminer, which I love. That's just sounds so very happy and happy and friendly. But in any case, check out my social media because I will put all of the names because I'm just going to jump around and list a couple. But I want it to be helpful to you if you do go up there. And if you are going up there out of season, again, call these places ahead, call the restaurants, call the wineries. Some of them, I did get that tip from Danielle. Some of them have changed their policies about wine tasting and how they handle that. Some will let you do it at the bar. Actually, most of the places we went to, though I shouldn't say most, but I'd say half, you had the flight at your seat. A couple places still had you standing at the tasting bar, and that was fine. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know a lot of things have changed not for the good with the pandemic, but some changes, in my opinion, are okay and they're improvements. I'd rather sit with a flight of wine. I'm cool with sitting, not to sound like a lazy ass, but I don't mind sitting with my wine tastings, and having the cheese and crackers instead of like somebody who's standing there just looking at you while you drink your wine. So I liked sitting down and doing it at our own pace. Anyway, so I digress. So after we went to the Grist Iron Brewery, where we had our little base to get us ready for drinking, and I think at this point it was noon. No, when we finished eating, it was probably 12:31. I'm not going to give you all time updates, but anyway, just to give you an idea. So then we thought we'd hit some wineries before we went to check in, and it was self check in with a lockbox, and it was supposed to be after 3 o'clock. So we figured we're close to where we're staying. Why not just hit some wineries? And then once we get home, we'll pretty much be in for the night because that's how we roll. We're not going to rally. We haven't really gone out past like 7 or 8 o'clock since our 30s. So we're not, we knew we weren't going to go out. Plus we knew we would be drinking. Now, of course, Cristan is not much of a drinker, and she was also the driver, so she was not indulging, but Cindy and I were the drinking sisters for the day. We were having fun. So after we had our lunch, we went to, oh boy, I wrote it down so I would not forget. And of course, look at me here, Silver Springs, which is in Burdett, New York. And it's, if you look it up online, it is described as quote unquote laid back. And I would agree with that. I personally did not care for it. That now, if you're a throwback, I shouldn't say a throwback hippie. I'm not trying to sound derogatory. If you're someone who likes tie-dye, this could be the place for you. Although I have to say, just because you're wearing tie-dye and you have tie-dye shirts with peace symbols on them, it doesn't necessarily give any kind of vibe, because quite frankly, I didn't get any kind of vibe from this place. Maybe because it's winter. So maybe in the summer or spring, you'd go up there and there might be kind of like concerts with like Woodstock kind of music, maybe. Otherwise, walking in there, it was just no vibe, quite frankly. I didn't really get a vibe. It was just, big open. And I think there was some kind of brick oven or charcoal oven on the other side of the room for possibly pizza. I don't know. I will admit, I really didn't care for this place. So did I say that 5 times? But the young person who was serving us the wine, I don't like people who yes me. I mean, I prefer honesty. Like, you know what? Our wines are probably not for you, or maybe you'll like one or two, but I don't know. But I mentioned things I like, and he goes, "Oh, you're probably going to like our wine." And I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think so based on what I just said. But yeah. And I don't think he liked me either, because I kind of said that like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Okay, you're just telling me that I'm going to like your wine." One nice thing though, you didn't have to buy a whole tasting. And again, I don't mean to be rude. I'm kind of sorry I wasted my $6 and had 3 tastes because I didn't like any of the wine. I think Cindy might have liked something with cherry in it. I personally was not a fan of the 3 that I tried. I think Cristan tried one. She likes sweet wines. I can't even tell you exactly what they had. Like I said, maybe I just didn't give them a fair shake, but that place wasn't for me. And then we moved on to one of my favorite places, and Danielle gave us the heads up on this. She said it was one of her favorite spots, and she did not steer me wrong. Ryan William Vineyard. That was, gosh, it was right down the road, not far at all from this Silver Springs. I liked it a lot. I really did. You walk in and it looks all fancy schmancy. And I'll admit, when you look on their website, I looked and I was like, Danielle said she liked it. Now, Danielle likes red wines, and she likes, she's a serious red wine drinker. I am not. I will occasionally do Shiraz, a red Zinfandel, a Cabernet, sometimes a Malbec or, a Chianti or something like that, but I'm not like, I don't know. It's just, they're still typically a little bit too dry for me. So I don't drink them too much. So I'm far from a connoisseur of red wines, but, she did say that they had a flight of Riesling. So I thought, oh, great. I know that Cindy likes Rieslings. I like them as well. But I'll admit, when I looked on their website, I thought, ooh, they look a little too hoity-toity. I bet they're going to be pricey. I don't let that scare you at all, because I think, to be fair, their prices were not bad at all. And I would say their food was delicious. I enjoyed their wine. And with their wine flights, they were served to us on this like little, it was kind of like a self-directed. They were numbered and they were brought out on a plate, and they did not just give you a tasting. You had like, I don't want to say like a third of a glass. You got, let me just put it this way. You got a healthy serving. You got a good serving with your flight. So I would think it was well worth it. And I'll be honest, I should know this. I should have written down some notes before I started. $10 or $12 for like, oh, what was it, 4? But I mean, you got a nice size amount of wine. Because the other place was the Silver Springs place. It was like, I don't know, I paid $6 for 3 wines that I didn't like. So if this was 12, I would say it was worth it 100%. Absolutely. So it's modern looking, it's classy, it's like really high ceilings, a lot of light, a lot of windows. I liked it a lot. It might not, so let's put it this way. If you're really liking the vibe of like a VW and sandals and the tie-dye t-shirts, I'm not saying you're not going to be welcome at this place or like it. Maybe you'll look and you won't feel comfortable. I don't know, but I liked it a lot. And not because I'm hoity-toity. It was just very modern, very nice, very open, very airy, very bright. And in the summer, it's got to be gorgeous because of, all these places have outdoor seating. And of course, excuse me, we weren't going to be sitting outside in, oh gosh, what was it? 22 degrees and windy, I believe. Pardon me while I take a water break. Listen to our sponsor. No, I don't have a sponsor. I am my sponsor. Talking about wine and sponsors. Okay, that seems a little ironic. Anyway, so we went to Ryan William, and again, fantastic. Neither of us are red wine drinkers, so I cannot tell you about their red wine. I can tell you Danielle says they're fantastic. So if you are a red wine person, I would suggest you try it out. Cindy got the Riesling flight, so it was all different Rieslings. I got the white wine flight, and it had, I ended up buying their Gewürztraminer. So I will, of course, you'll have to go to YouTube to see this, although I don't know if you really care to see just a bottle that says Ryan William Vineyard on it, Gewürztraminer, but I did buy their Gewürztraminer. They also had, oh gosh, I'm drawing there was a Chardonnay, there was a Gruner Veltliner, and I want to say there was also a Riesling on my flight as well. I liked all of them, honestly. I really did. But of course, I am a big fan of Gewürztraminer, so I bought that one. And I want to say it was $22, $24 or something, which quite frankly, again, to be completely honest, when I'm at home, will I go to the liquor store and spend $24 on a bottle of wine? No, because I just won't. That would be treating myself. But I was on a special girls getaway weekend, so I'm like, I'm going to buy it. And hopefully I'll manage to save it for a month or two for something special. But life is short and every day is special and any time can be special. So I'm not going to worry about it either. If I want it, I'll open it. So that's Ryan William. Kristen did not have any of the, actually she did. I think she tried a sip of mine and made that face she makes. And she's like, oh no, she didn't really she likes very sweet wines. But I will tell you, we decided to get a snack. The chocolate peanut butter brownie, phenomenal. And something that I never saw on a menu, at least I've never seen the word olive oil in the name of the cake. It was like orange olive oil cake or olive oil orange cake, something like that. But olive oil was in the name. And I was like, that's interesting. It was delicious. It reminded me of a cake that my mom will make for me on my birthdays that is made with Galliano liqueur, which I believe is an orange liqueur. She makes what's called a Harvey Wallbanger cake. And it has like this sugary glaze on top. It's like a bundt cake that is super moist. I think it's got like pudding in it. It's got cherries on top. It reminded me of that cake and it was delicious. So we shared the chocolate peanut butter brownie and this olive oil orange cake. Fantastic, just fantastic. And they had a menu for brunch for the next day. And we're like, okay, unless you're sick of it, can we come back here tomorrow? Because this was great. So that was the plan. That was the plan. Janine did not go with the plan, but that was the plan. So, okay, so it's a sunny day and now I'm feeling it because we had good, healthy servings in that. So we hop in the car and we head to our next stop, which I believe I had been at, years ago. It was called Chateau Lafayette. I'm going to put on my reading glasses. Oh no, they're not on my head. What am I going to do? Here we go. Chateau Lafayette Renew. So I'm going to hold up the bottle that I'm drinking tonight. Am I drinking? Yes. Called the Saval Chardonnay. I do like Saval Blanc. So this is a mixture of Saval Chardonnay. Now, I did hear from a little birdie. I don't know if this information is on the website, and I don't think I'm revealing any secrets, but I was told by someone who would know that the owners of Ryan William Vineyard bought this winery, Chateau Lafayette, which makes sense to me because, again, Chateau Lafayette, very classy, open, a lot of light, a lot of windows, and their tasting was done in a similar way. You could get a flight and it was served on kind of like a tray that was delivered to you. And I like their wines too. So again, that's why I'm saying I'm not surprised. I did like them. Again, the white wines. Cindy and I shared 2 flights, and I think we had 5 wines in each flight. Again, I will include this information more specifically on my social media page because I deliberately saved the tasting sheet because I wanted to share it with you. So I should have excuse me while I fix this a little bit here. If you're watching the video, I wanted to be able to show you. Isn't this pretty? The design on the label is just really pretty. Like this would make a nice tile for the kitchen or bathroom or a nice backsplash, right? So I forget the names. I think we got a white flight and then the other one was like called perhaps a semi-dry because it had 2 red wines and 3 white wines. And Cindy and I tried those. And of course, we're feeling it by now. And we got goat cheese with, what did it have in it? Rosemary, maybe. And we got these French crackers and we got some other kind of cheese. And we just kind of pretty much made a mess there. But we had a good time. Oh, and I should mention there was an adorable dog at Ryan William Vineyard who was very well behaved, by the way. He was not barking. He was not. So here's my thing. I'll back up because before I know I probably annoyed people. And if I did, they're probably no longer listening. I know it doesn't take much. But anyway, if the dog is well behaved and the children are well behaved, I'm fine. You know what? If your dogs and children are being quiet and they're hanging out with you, I'm all good. And I don't mean for that to sound rude, but if your dog is barking or it's coming over and jumping on me and your kids running over and putting their dirty hands on me looking for attention, then I don't love it. I like my personal space. And this has nothing to do with the pandemic. Trust me. I don't care about that. It's not about germs. It's about giving me my privacy and space. So anyway, this dog was at Ryan William, very sweet dog. I forget what kind of combination it was. He was like a long, short dog, black and white, so cute. I wish I took a picture of him. I want to say his name was Max. And he was the owners, he didn't drive himself there because I think he might have been drinking. So no, I'm just kidding. He wasn't there alone. His owners and the whole group that they were with were at Ryan William. And then they came to Chateau Lafayette where we were. So Max comes over and of course, Cindy and I are really feeling it. And we have our cheese and crackers and we're like, can we give him food? And they said, oh, Max loves cheese. And he was a really sweet dog. So we gave him cheese and we shared with him. But anyway, I want to share what I did like there. I actually ended up buying 3 bottles of wine at Chateau Lafayette. This one that I said has a nice label that looks like it belongs as like a tile for backsplash or something, kind of a Mexican theme, or I don't know if I like not Southwestern, but I don't even know, but I like the colors and it would make a really cool tile. Anyway, that's on the label. It's called the Saval Chardonnay. And I also got a Chardonnay. Of course, I'm looking tonight when I was trying to decide what to open to get in the spirit before I recorded this. And I'm like, oh, I bought a Chardonnay. I do like Chardonnays, but over the years, I don't want to say I've gotten away from them. I just have to be careful because I don't love the dry ones that are done in oak. I almost choke on them. And that sounds so dramatic. I almost choke on them. Help me. I don't like a really dry wine. And when the Chardonnay is done in oak, it's just, honestly, I just don't like it. But there are plenty of Chardonnays out there that are done in stainless steel and just honestly that's another wine, in my opinion, that can taste so different. Naked, I think it's called Naked Chardonnay. I like, and it's not, I mean, it's not expensive. And I think it's a California wine. It's a Cupcake too, or Naked. I think it's the Naked Chardonnay. It's only like 10 or $11 and it's really not dry at all. So this Save All Chardonnay is really nice. I'm assuming that I like the Chardonnay. I'm hoping it's not a case of me having so many wines and just thinking, oh yeah, I like that. Did I like that? Or was it the other one? Because if you've ever gone wine tasting, unfortunately, if you're not sophisticated, and I am not sophisticated, you get to a point where you've had maybe 8 or 9, 10, 11 different wines you've tried, and you're like, was that the other play? Was that the second one? I don't know if I like that. So I'm hoping I like the bottle of Chardonnay that I got. And I think I also bought a Riesling there. Of course, I bought Riesling pretty much everywhere. So I got a Gewürztraminer at Ryan William. I got the Save All Chardonnay, and Riesling from Chateau Lafayette. And then we were on our way. And I want to say the 3 bottles I bought here were like, oh gosh, I want to say 70 some dollars total. I don't know. They were perhaps like 20 something a piece. Again, more than I would pay if I was at home, but I don't mind splurging if I'm on a little getaway. And to me, they're going to be special when I drink them. It doesn't mean I'm going to drink them any slower or make them last longer, but they're still going to be a little special. So anyway, the Save All Chardonnay, I should mention this. Okay, so tonight I opened this, and as you can see, yikes, that's a little embarrassing. Let's see. A little more than half the bottle is gone. And I'm still nursing some. I should show you. I didn't drink it all just yet, so I'm nursing some here. This tastes absolutely, excuse me, delicious with goat cheese. Earlier, I was enjoying this just to get myself in the mood, so to speak. And I had warmed up a piece of wheat naan bread, and I spread regular goat cheese on it and put fig preservative on it, fig jam. And then I also added, oh, yes, I should show you. Well, I added, what did I add? So I had fig jam, and then, well, I don't want to jump the gun, but I will show you this. This is a spread that I bought in the Finger Lakes called Creamed Honey with Cinnamon by Wixon's, and they're out of Dundee, New York. So I'm going to hold that jar up for those of you who are looking at the YouTube. So this spread I also put over the goat cheese. And again, it's got that honey sweetness. And then I even put some dried dates on it. And then I found the remainder of the goat cheese that we had actually bought at Chateau Lafayette back about what? Let's see, 2 weeks ago? Or was it 3? Oh gosh, almost 3 weeks ago. So hopefully it didn't look moldy. It was the goat cheese with the whatever it has, rosemary, basil, whatever's in it. It was good. Excuse me. It did not look moldy. It did not look yellowed or anything. So I had that on the warmed naan bread as well. So the bottom line of all my rambling there is goat cheese with the Save All Chardonnay, absolutely delicious. And I will also say, I discovered this the other night with the wine that I was drinking. And gosh, what the heck was the wine I was drinking the other night? It was a white wine out of California. No. Let me take it back. It was a wine from the Rueda region of Spain called a Verdejo. That's right. It was called a Verdejo. I got it at Wegmans. That was last week. And it was similar, according to the gentleman who worked there, it was similar to a nice wine I had gotten at the state store that was a Torontis from Chile or Spain. He said they were similar. So my point was, if you have Girl Scout cookies, because it's that time of year, toast, yay, is meant to be a cookie like French toast. This tastes really nice with white wine. It tasted really nice the other nice the other night with the wine I had that was from the Rueda. I didn't take Spanish, so I will apologize. The Rueda region of Spain, and it was a Verdejo, and it was similar, he had told me, to the Torontis that was made by this winery or vineyard, let's say, Zuccardi, really nice, not expensive at the state store. So again, my point being, you do not have to spend a lot of money to enjoy wine. I often look when I'm in the liquor store at the Chairman Select, or they might be renamed something else. They're basically recommendations. And here in Pennsylvania, where I live in Scranton area, we have a really nice state store in South Abington or Clark Summit area where you walk in, you go to the right, all of the recommendations, and some of them are $7, $8. Some of them are 25, 30, but I can tell you I've had wines from France, New Zealand, Chile, $7, $8, $9, and they're absolutely delicious. But to get back to this white wine, goes really nice with the cinnamon flavors, the honey, vanilla, all that good stuff. That's what I like. So moving along from the chateau, by this time, and I will post pictures on my social media, I was really feeling good. In fact, I think Cindy and I were like really loopy at this point, and I'm carrying 3 bottles of wine out of there. And it's like, okay, it was now 4 o'clock or so. And a lot of the wineries close most of them closed by 5. Some I think might've even closed at 4, but most were 5 o'clock. So we wanted to get to one more winery called Red Newt Winery. And I had remembered being there years and years. I'm talking like 10, 15, a long time ago. And I remembered them because on their labels, on the wine bottle, they of course have, that little, I don't want to call it a lizard. It's a newt, Newt, which is like a little teeny tiny, like gecko lizard kind of thing. So I remembered that. And I also, one of the things I remembered about going there years and years ago, what I liked from a physical or decorative standpoint, they had all of their corks glued to the wall to make like a bulletin board, like a huge, we're talking like 30 feet by like it was ginormous. And I thought that was really cool. So I did remember them from that. So we go up there. We knew they were closing at 5. We go in. It's another huge place. You walk in and you see all the wine. So you enter kind of into the store, and then you go to the back room, which I will say again, I love the wineries that utilize the view. They had all the windows. The sun was just about to set in a little while, so it was beautiful with the sun streaming through. Granted, it was cold out, but the sun was cooperating. It was gorgeous. And we're there almost at closing time. And I have to say they weren't super friendly. It could be, just life nowadays, and people aren't thrilled sometimes with their line of work, or the fact that it was 4:05 and they didn't want it. There were people still in there, but there was a little bit of snarkiness, a little tood. We had a gentleman wait on us. I forget what his little wisecrack was, but he seemed a little snarky. But we got one flight between us because Cindy and I were pretty much loopy already. And we got one thing I will say, the highlight of this winery for us anyway, were the candied pecans. They were fantastic. And Cristan was able to get, I think she ended up getting either like a cappuccino or something along those lines, some frothy, warm beverage. And Cindy and I shared a flight. And honestly, I cannot tell you, this is the problem when you have too many wines and maybe you're a lightweight or whatever you want to say. I cannot recall anything really about what we tasted. I probably liked one of the white wines, but I can't remember. But I can tell you, I must have kind of liked it because I did end up buying one bottle. Sadly, there was harming of wine during the making of this podcast. No, actually, during this podcast, I haven't broken anything. But on our trip that night, I mention earlier, if you were listening and paying attention, I said, I'm not a happy drunk and I'm not a nice drunk necessarily. Well, I was feeling my wines. And when we got to the old schoolhouse in Burdett, where we were staying, I wanted to just leave my box of wine in the car, and Cristan thought it might smash with the cold temperatures. And I had 3, 4, 5 bottles in this, box. And so it was kind of heavy. And I was kind of, Janine when she drinks too much. So I got a little toot and I'm a little belligerent and I'm mouthing to myself, and she's talking to me like I'm her child. Like, what was that? I'm like, nothing. I'm talking to myself. So I wasn't happy that I had to carry this box in because she thought the wine would smash. Maybe it would have, I don't know. I'm not a physicist, so I really don't know. So I get the box, and because Janine gets, yes, I'm talking like Jimmy can dunk. I don't know why I'm talking in third person, but I can get a little aggressive and a little bit like, not the nicest, drunk. So I'm getting a little like not so happy and aggressive. So I grab the box of wine and it slips out of my hand onto the pavement there, the driveway. And then I pick it up real quick and I bring it in the house and I set it down on the counter in the kitchen, and one bottle had smashed. So we lost the Newt. The red Newt bottle, I forget if it was, I want to say it was a Riesling, because that's pretty much, I got a lot of Rieslings, I think. And, Cindy and I kind of joked about it. She's like, yeah, that was a place we didn't really like it that much there anyway. Okay. So unfortunately I broke that. But I don't want to give you a play-by-play because, quite frankly, I'm going to take a sip of my wine. Tastes different after letting it sit for like the last half hour. Almost a honey taste. Anyway, yeah, I'm not going to give you a play-by-play because you don't need that. And I don't need to tell you that. It's kind of boring, right? I'll just tell you the highlights. I'll tell you the highlights. I will tell you the highlights. If you get the opportunity, go to Airbnb and check out, look for in Burdett, New York, the old schoolhouse. I think it's just called Schoolhouse FLX because it was an old schoolhouse. And it's kind of neat because you can read about the history. There is some original elements, floorboards, the original like pencil sharpener, really neat stuff. It is a very nice place to stay. Danielle and her husband who own it, they do a fantastic job. The decor is just warm, welcoming, so cozy, so nice, so cute. Every detail is thought of. And my favorite part about it is we got to the place about 5, maybe. I don't know. The sun was setting, and with all the snow, the colors in the sky with the sun setting were just phenomenal. I mean, and I had taken some pictures when we were driving and we were almost there from the back seat. But when we got into the house, and you could see in the little living room area, the giant window, which you can just sit there and enjoy the sun setting. Now, there is a beautiful wraparound like porch or deck. And that in the summertime, the fall, the springtime, it has to be fabulous. In fact, my parents actually want to go. So we're probably thinking of going in the late summer or fall or something during the week because, it's more difficult, I think, to get it during the weekends. It's probably cheaper during the week. And quite frankly, like I said earlier, I don't love being around a ton of people, and it has nothing to do with the pandemic. It's just life. I just rather a little bit more peacefulness and serenity and, less chance of running into mouthiness and, rudeness or whatever you might run into these days. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to spell it out for you, right? So beautiful view, gorgeous, gorgeous porch deck that you could enjoy in warm weather, but not when it's 20 degrees and there's snow. A really nice, there was an igloo, like one of those plastic, built kind of things that you see a lot of places at the, that where you want to dine outside in the winter. Unfortunately, the snow and ice had hit it, so it was damaged. Not that we were probably going to use it anyway, because we would have had to, shovel a path out, which I knew in advance. So that was no problem. That's what, the owner had said, that's not something that was shoveled. So we would have had to shovel our way out. But in nice weather, there's furniture out there and it's just cozy and just wonderful views and just fantastic. So I would totally recommend that. Go to Airbnb and check it out. It's really nice. So I'm going to fast forward and just tell you, I'm not going to give you a play-by-play, but remember those pork nachos I mentioned earlier? Okay, so we're home and we've pretty much been snacking, but we didn't want to go to dinner. And I mean, I'm feeling my wine. I'd say I was tipsy, drunk, I guess. I probably at that point could have even gone to bed, but I wasn't falling down drunk, of course. I was just, I was okay. And I had packed and brought with me a bottle of Asti Spumante, and I should have just left it in the fridge, but I said something to Cristan about having it. And she said, yeah, I'd have some. Now, of course, Cristan was the driver. She was being good all day. She likes Prosecco and she doesn't, really like the dry wines or semi-dry. So she wanted to have a glass, as she should. She was, our designated driver all day. And she said, well, don't open it unless you're going to have a glass. Well, of course, Janine's not going to turn down a glass. No, I'll have a glass. So I poured some for her and I poured something for me. And I think, oh, that's right. We had stopped at a convenience store, I think it's called a Dandy or whatever. And I was a little bit grumpy there too, because the guy, I bought like milk and some snacks and he didn't give me a bag. And I had 3 items and I'm like, can I have a bag? And he just hands me a paper bag. He doesn't bother bagging it for me. So I thought that was kind of rude. But anyway, so I think I got goldfish crackers and something else. I forget what else, but I sit down and I inhale my goldfish crackers and I have the Prosecco. Now, keep in mind, I don't know about you, but I enjoy Prosecco, but bubbles sometimes could be like, they're kind of like, oh, what's that Irish boxer who's kind of a jerk? I shouldn't say he's kind of a jerk, but he's like an MMA fighter guy. Of course, I don't know. So it's like one of those guys, an MMA fighter coming to like kind of like a librarian party and just really kicking things around and just messing up the joint. So the bubbles can get into your tummy and just kind of wreak havoc. I don't know. It's just something with the bubbles because I've had this happen to me before. I should have known better. I inhale my goldfish crackers and then I say I'm going to have some of Kristen's leftover pork nachos. Now, I should mention over the past 10, 15 years, all of a sudden I have this, I'm calling it an allergy. I don't know what it is. My stomach cannot handle garlic. Yes, I know how fantastic it is. It's funny when you tell people certain things. It's like you choose this. Like I decided one day that I just want to hate garlic. It's not that at all. I used to eat it and I know how good it is for the heart. And trust me, I know people like it because when I go out to eat, it's in practically freaking everything. But I can't eat it anymore. It's just, it bothers me. Even like a hint of it inside a meatball or whatever, it just causes me problems and I don't need problems. So anyway, I feel like maybe the pulled pork tacos nachos. I think there might have been a hint of garlic in the seasoning on the pulled pork. I don't know, but I had those, a couple handfuls. I'm grabbing them by the handful, a couple of those. And I'm going to fast forward and save you some time. I was up for about 3 hours in the middle of the night and things did not go well. And you don't need to know, a lot of flushing going on. You know what happened. So the next morning, my traveling companions get to go to Ryan William Vineyard and enjoy a delicious brunch while Janine stayed home. I tested my friend Cristan, who was very kind to do this, went to the store for me and got me some Sprite. I had some soda. I had brought some Pop-Tarts with me. So I tested my stomach out with a little chocolate Pop-Tart. Yeah, I know. After a night of being sick, have a chocolate Pop-Tart. It actually wasn't a bad choice. It was fine. So anyway, they went to brunch and I missed out and there was fabulous quiches to be had. And oh my gosh, I guess maybe French toast. I can just imagine I really missed out. And if I do go back with my parents, I will make a point to go have brunch at Ryan William because I do think their food was really good. And hey, something like a nice brunch and mimosa and not overdoing it would be nice. So they had a nice brunch. I had a Pop-Tart and some Sprite trying to heal myself. And I will be honest, I could have just stayed in bed or laid there on that couch and watched Netflix all day and been happy, but I didn't want to be a wet blanket, a spoiler sport. So I went. Not that they couldn't have gone without me, but I thought, you know what, I will go. And I did not do any tasting on Sunday, which I have to say, at 50 years old, you think I would have learned my lesson about pacing myself or about making better choices, maybe not having that Prosecco, not having those pork nachos. But hey, life happens. I was wanting to die. I was praying for death during the middle of the night. So I was glad when that all ended and I could actually, not be feeling like I was going to vomit and not be feeling like I wanted to be ill. So I was fine and I went along for the ride and I just was low key. We did go, I should mention, I'm not going to name all of them. We did go to Magnus Ridge Winery because my friend Cindy had been there. No, she hadn't been there, but she had heard of it or something like that. That is very kind of ornate inside, very like There's two separate tasting rooms on either side that look like they're from the Renaissance or medieval, kind of like a castle. So they were neat looking, but they also had like the gates closed. So it was almost like it was the dungeon. I guess that was because they were private. So when you walk in, the tasting bar area, to me, it was very much retail oriented, very cute stuff. Like if you want a tea towel, a dish towel, you want a certain wine saying it's drinking time, or wine bitches, or whatever the hell, imagine whatever it is. I think the one thing I bought was a dish towel that was like, yeah, I don't know what the hell, laugh, love, wine, or something like that. But you could get anything. Like there were numerous items, very heavily centered around retail. So food and cute tchotchkes and wine things, very nice. I did not feel super welcome there. They kind of like were looking at you while you're walking around. I don't like that feeling, but nice enough. But we didn't do a tasting there. But this is before I had mentioned my creamed honey. So I'm going to hold this up again for those of you who do check out YouTube. This is pretty much, I think, very easy to find because I saw it in at least two other wineries. It is from a place in New York, in Dundee, New York, and it's called Wixon's creamed honey with cinnamon. And I want to say they had another creamed honey as well with something else. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what I was thinking when I looked at it. And it's like $9.50 for this jar. I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. Oh, and look at this nice tableau. If you're on YouTube, these cork earrings with my bee stamp that I made, and I'm holding up this jar. Oh, honey, bee. Oh, that's fantastic. And I didn't even plan that. I bought it, I guess, because I was like, oh, let me try something different. It's not like I had a plan for it. However, let me tell you, I'm glad I bought it. When I bought it, I'm like, okay, it sounded interesting. I have no clue what I'm going to use this on. And I'm not exactly a foodie, I will tell you that. And I thought, well, I think I asked the guy who waited on me, who checked me out. And he was like, again, I'm not saying young people don't know things, but he was like, maybe he looked like he was 19 years old. Maybe he was in his early 20s. I think he said something like, I said, do you cook with it? And I think he said you could put it on chicken or whatever. I don't know, but I don't really think it's so much for cooking. It's a spread, and you can dip like pretzels in it. I will say it really is a nice spread. You can put it on, I had it on toast with cream cheese. I've had it on crackers and toast with peanut butter. Earlier tonight, I did put it on my naan bread with the goat cheese, and I put dates on it. So again, creamed honey with cinnamon, and I think it's quite yummy. Wixon's, and it's from Dundee, New York. So that's great. Support, local folks there that make it right in the upstate New York area. So I got that at Magnus Ridge Winery. I won't name the places we went to, and I will tell you that my heart was simply not in it on Sunday. And I hated to be selfish, but I really wasn't in it. And I do feel badly because I know that if I were still tasting, it would have been a little bit more fun for Cindy, because Cristan wasn't really tasting and Cindy only had a couple tastes. But I will show, if I can show this, and you're going to have to go to YouTube to see it. The one place we went to, this is one of the last places that I will mention. We decided to go pretty much all the way around the lake. That's what we wanted to do. So we were heading up with the idea that we would eat in Geneva, New York at the Belhurst Castle, which I've heard great things about it. I always thought it was this hoity-toity, super expensive place. And when they mentioned they wanted to do dinner there, I was like, oh, yeah. But I was like, okay, be a team player here. Just go along with it. How often do you do quote unquote expensive meal? Just go with it. But one of the places that we wanted to stop, or I should say Cindy wanted to stop, was called Miles Wine Cellar. And this place it has a backstory that it's supposed to be haunted. And I think you can actually rent a room there and stay. But it's pretty cool because when you drive down, it is, of all the wineries, this place is literally like, you think you're driving into the lake. Like it is really close to the lake. So I can just imagine in nice weather how lovely it is. You can get your bottle of wine. You can go down and sit right by the water. I cannot tell you what their wine is like because I didn't taste it. Excuse me. They did have a traminette, and I do like traminettes, although they're a little on the sweet side for me. But I did end up buying it on Kristen's recommendation because I do like traminettes. And I bought this wine, which I think is similar. It's called Ghost. It's a white table wine. And I think it's supposed to be similar to like a Riesling. At least that's what Cindy said. Some of her, the folks, her relatives, I think maybe Trish, Alice, those folks have had it and they really like it. So I thought, you know what, if nothing else, I like the story of this winery with the couple that died and the ghost there. And I also liked that you can kind of shine light on the bottle and it projects an image, which is supposed to be like a ghost. So I said, you know what? I'll buy it. It's not like it's $40 or $50. I think it was 15, 16. I don't know. I'm like, what the heck? If I don't like it, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I'm going to try to show you for those folks who look on YouTube. Let's see if I can show you the projection. Oh, this is not going to come out on film. Oh, shoot. Why didn't I think that's not going to come out? So if you flash a light, it is supposed to project a ghost. Oh, you can't, I don't think you can see it. Shoot, because of the way my laptop is going. Here, let's try this again. Oh, shoot. Unfortunately, it's not working quite right. So I'm sorry, but you basically put a flashlight behind this image of a woman who really, at quick glance, she kind of reminds me of Tinkerbell, but when you put the light behind it, it projects, excuse me, like this ghostly type outline or shadow, which is pretty cool. But unfortunately, it didn't quite work because of the light of the laptop and just, I'm not a set designer, so I can't exactly explain it. So anyway, didn't quite work as I had hoped, but it's a really neat place. I would say definitely go there just for the absolutely lovely view and being able to sit by the water. It was just fantastic. So again, cold outside, and I look like an Eskimo when I put up my fake fur, of course, I don't want your hate letters, fake fur on my hood and put that up. It was very windy by the water there, but in a nice season like spring or fall or summer, it's probably lovely. And I'm glad that we got to stop there. And just to wrap up, we did end up getting to Bellhurst Castle Winery, where I had not been drinking all day long, and I have to tell you, I thought to myself, when we left the house after the brunch, I think it was like 12, and we were going to have dinner, and that was at 5. And I thought to myself, of course, I did not say this to Cristan or Cindy, holy shit, I have to make it 5 hours before I even eat dinner. And I managed. And again, you got to zip it just because I overdid it. I didn't want to ruin it for Cristan and Cindy. And so I kept my mouth shut and I just kind of like got along. I feel badly I did not taste with Cindy because I think it would have been a little bit more fun with the two of us. And, because we had a heck of a lot of fun the first day. But again, you live and you learn. We still had a great weekend. We got to Bellhurst, and unfortunately they couldn't take us at 5:00. They were going to seat us at 5:30. And in my internal voice was like, come on. But I kept my mouth shut, and we decided to go to their bar and have a drink, which was a really good call. We sat down, and I had been good all day and didn't drink. So I'm thinking, okay, I am going to tempt fate here. The espresso martini sounded absolutely delightful. It had, I think, cream de cocoa, and oh my gosh, a rum that sounded fantastic. And what was the rum? I want to say it was espresso rum or something. Like, I did not expect it to be in the drink. And then there was like vanilla vodka or something. It was creamy goodness in a low martini glass, sprinkled with cinnamon. That we said the only thing missing would have been like a nice drizzle of chocolate on top. And I do have a picture of that. It was picture perfect when they delivered it. All three of us got one, and we toasted with it. And it was creamy goodness in a glass. It was delicious. We had a lovely little chat there, just catching up about life and whatnot. Had a very nice dinner. I had salmon, which was really good with asparagus. Then we headed back and watched a little Netflix, and I actually got a decent night's sleep because I didn't drink too much and wasn't up for 3 hours pacing and dealing with issues in the bathroom. So that was nice. And then we had a lovely breakfast heading out of town in a really local diner, where, just where the locals were on a Monday morning, and just headed home. It was great time to get away, just a nice girls' weekend. You know how that feels. You chit chat, a lot of conversation about some serious stuff and some stuff that's just nothing, Netflix, television, just silliness, just had a lot of laughs and really filled our heart. And it was just fun. So it was a great time to do an early happy birthday to Cristan. Did I say how old she's going to be on February 28th? Yes, I did. That's 50. And again, I don't need to worry because she won't listen to this, but I do love her. She's a good friend. We had a great time, and I would definitely recommend, if you can get up to the Finger Lakes, Seneca Lake, check out Funny Wine Girl Janine on Facebook, Instagram, and my YouTube. I will share pictures, and I will share an actual list of all the places that we went with better descriptions that you can follow and check out. And please feel free to message me anytime, and I will be happy to give you any information or help that I can, if I can help you. Thank you for listening. I apologize if I sounded rambling. I did have a little wine before, and I just wanted to share what I had experienced and talk a little bit about wine. And please feel free to reach out to me and share. I don't know if I just paused my recording or not. If I did, hopefully I'll be able to edit it out. Otherwise, I'd like to say thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, Janine Luby. Thank you. If you've enjoyed this, please share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe. If you don't like it, tell your dog, your goldfish, your cat, or me. Just reach out to me and let me know how I can make this listening experience better for you. Thanks again. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.